Black Beatles in the city, be back immediately to snatch up all the money. Oh yeah, hey, hey, hey. I sent flowers, but you said you didn't receive them. You told me you didn't need a man. That girl is a real crowd pleaser. Small world, all her friends know of me. Young soul living like an old dreamer. Quick release the cash, watch it fall slowly. Frat girl still trying to get even. Haters mad for whatever reason. Smoke in the air, beans drinking. They lose it when the DJ drops the needle. Feeling so high, I ain't blinking. What in the world was I thinking? New night, new money to be made. There is nothing to explain. I'm a groovy black beetle, baby, cream seats in my regal. Rockin' chocolate and shades, watch the people turn regal. Took a lady to the club, let her dance up on the table, shouting, everybody's famous, like clockwork, I spin it all.
On this edition of Dual Sports Exchange, I'll be sitting down with Shiraz Soysa of the Tamaki Lightning, talking about the going-ons and happenings in the New Zealand Football Association and what's going on in Auckland and the country as a whole. Talking a little about the national team, the local competitions, and the future of football in New Zealand. All right, Justin McKenzie here with Shiraz Soysa, with the Tamaki Lightning and the New Zealand Football Association. So, Shiraz, just want to get a little background on yourself and then the league in New Zealand, how things are going.
Yeah, thanks, Justin. Look, great to be on. Look, the league in New Zealand, there's been a long history. So the league was set up in the 60s. A lot of that through American missionaries and I guess a very strong sort of New Zealand community that got into some of the 70s and 80s in college, and brought that sport back to New Zealand, where it is now. I guess for a few years the contact program was sort of stagnating, but we've seen a real growth in the last couple of years. In the last few years, we've had all forms of the game from a contact perspective being played, including five-man football in parts of the country, especially in the south, and 8-man, 11-man football in Auckland. And in Auckland, especially with 8-man coming in, although now we've gone back to a full 11-man format, we've started seeing between that and some of the growth in flag, we've started to see the contact game start to really pick up and start to pick up a few more modern concepts. For a long time, and Justin, you probably remember this when you played over here, it was very much power football and get your big linemen, which there's plenty of in New Zealand. There's a very strong Pacifica and Maori community, which produces really big linemen. A lot of them, you'll see a lot of them having success at college levels and even in the NFL at the moment. So that was a style of play we were known for. That's evolving now, so it's becoming a lot more of a modern offense. There's clubs that run more of a traditional base. We run more of a modern sort of spread style offense. So yeah. We have two components to our season. We have our contact season and we have our flag season. And what happens in the flag season is the contact boys would have things like big man camps and also some representatives of regional games between other either a North versus South or a game versus Canterbury, which we're trying to organise. And the flag season, as you know, flag's really popular around the world. In New Zealand, that's really accelerating. So now we're about to start our flag football season. So we're in between this contact season and flag season. It's probably a really good window for us to look at collaborating on something and bringing something here in any form.
So I guess I want to know, how did the season play out this year? How did everything go with the Lightning and then the league overall?
Yeah, look, it was a good season. This year, there was a bit of a change where we had our regular season and the top two teams went ahead to the final.
Okay.
We were in quite an unlucky position where we were tied for second. We had 6 wins and 2 losses, I believe. but so did the second place team. We had beaten them head to head, but they had the point differential edge on us. And this year the rule was point differential, so we ended up placing third. And the team that we tied with and we beat, they ended up winning the Kiwi Bowl. So that was the Raiders. So we're always in it. It was a very close top three this year. And we're looking forward to sort of getting back in there and taking it out next year. But yeah, there's about three or four teams that they create the top tier of the competition, and there's a few teams that are developing and growing and on any day can beat anyone. So yeah, it's about 7 or 8 teams. It's a good competition. There's a junior and a Colts program as well. So the juniors is under 16s and the Colts is under 20s. And that allows some of these younger players to develop through as well without just jumping into the men's league.
Okay. And so there's 7 teams now. So there's been a little bit of expansion.
Yeah, yeah. So the one of the challenges we were having is the number of teams we were having were dwindling.
Yeah.
So what we did, a big change we made is we brought in the 8-man system to try and allow teams to rebuild for new
Hmm.
clubs to set up. And that got us back to about 8 clubs in the country, in Auckland, sorry. There's about 40
Okay.
clubs in the country. Most of them play flag, but there's 8 in Auckland that do contact. But now we're at a size and we're stable enough that we can go back to 11-man as our primary method rather than
All
just
right.
for the top couple of teams.
So which teams played 11 man this year?
So 11-man this year, we had the Tamaki Lightning, which is us. We had the Metro Lions, we had the South Auckland Raiders, we had the Hamilton Hawks, we have the Takanini Giants, we have the Manurewa Eagles, and who am I missing? And we had the Papatoi Wildcats as well.
Okay.
So yeah, so there was quite a wide range. Um, yeah.
All right. So what's the mood or what's the vision for the future as far as international play, getting back into IFAF tournaments like
Yep.
before or okay.
No, so it's very much keep it closer to home. We've started an annual series against Australia. So we played Australia last year in the men's team. In Australia, they are usually a little bit further advanced than us, but we lost in the last play of the game in that series. And in fact, our last play was the coaches drew up a trick play, and it was a slant route. The receiver caught the ball, but the tight end was looping back on sort of um,
Like a hook
uh,
and ladder.
like a quick hook and ladder, and he was wide open. Unfortunately, just dropped, and that would have won the
Oh,
game. So that wasn't the last play of the game. But to be that close against Australia was sort of a line in the sand that for us was okay. We're actually there.
yeah.
Yes, there's some things we need to tidy up, and we've got a good agreement in place where last year we went over there, and it was called the
Hmm.
Festival of Football. So there was
Okay.
everything from an under 16s, under 19s, and an open men's, and they had their teams cover. Every team met up in Australia, so they had some of their state teams as well as their national team. And then there were a whole bunch of coaches from the States that came over, including some scouts. So it was sort of bringing all the best talent from New Zealand and Australia together for a tournament. The same thing's happening this year in New Zealand now, right? So
So when's
that
that
will
going to be?
be that will be in July, right? So it's
Okay.
called the Festival of Football, and the idea is they will probably bring in over time, and probably bring in American Samoa, probably bring in some of the Pacific islands into that as well. But it's so much easier than trying to do the IFAF tournaments for contact. Because as you
Yeah.
know, the IFAF tournaments and moving a team all around the world, especially from New Zealand, which is quite remote and isolated, is really difficult. Um, we can do that for flag because you're moving 12 players, you're not moving the gear. There's a lot more stability. There's a couple of players being unavailable doesn't shut down the whole team. So that works in flag, but for contact, it's very much high quality, but keep it local.
Gotcha. I also heard now there's a full women's division now.
Yeah, yeah. So this year I think there was 4 teams in the women's division. And look, women's the growth in the women's game has been parallel to the growth in the flag game. So as soon as we brought in flag, we had lots of women come in and try the game. And then from that group of women that try the game, 20-30% go, well, actually, I'll play contact as well. Whereas
Okay.
previously, you just wouldn't have that draw just for contact. The other thing we do in New Zealand is obviously rugby and in rugby league. And for
Yeah.
American audience, let's just put it all under rugby, is our dominant sport, right? That is our dominant contact sport, and that's played in the winter. So we don't play American football here in the winter. Um,
Mhm.
we play it in the summer. So it's a great alternative for players who, who are coming off the winter sports season to have a contact sport in the summer. Um, and I guess that is probably the big difference here is in the States, you're used to playing football when it's wet and cold, and we're not. For us, it's a warm weather sport. Um, so that does make it a little bit different and a bit more appealing to someone who wants summer.
Yeah, well, it's also the same in Europe as well. In Europe, they also play throughout the spring and summer, kind of avoid the cold, freezing winter months
Yeah,
in Germany and Austria and all those countries. Because playing in November, December would be terrible over there. So they do
yeah,
most of it as well. I would say the base of the seasons are March to July. And you got a few that extend a little bit further, like Germany's got a long season.
yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty much only a fall winter sport in the States. Everywhere else, or States and Canada, everywhere else is kind of a summer or spring deal.
And that's where we've started to really grow. Like, yes, we do send a few players through colleges and junior colleges especially, but our pipeline to Europe now has become really strong. And every year we send about 3 or 4 players to the European leagues and now the ELF quite a lot, quite progressively. And from our club, we send 2 guys over to the ELF. One played in Japan actually,
Okay.
and they're really good, and they're bringing further, more players. Maybe 1 or 2 a year who are sort of getting to that level. So there are these pathways. You can either play for the national team, or you can play in, if you get to that level, you can play in Europe. If you catch you young enough, you can go to college. So yeah, it's not just a recreational sport for some of the higher achieving players.
Okay. And then I guess the next thing is what's it like doing I guess an 8-on-8 tournament or something like that over in New Zealand sometime this year?
Yeah. So what grades do you guys look at?
So,
And what grades are you guys interested in particularly?
so right now we're looking at probably the men's or the seniors grade, and
Yeah.
then possibly even a women's team.
Yeah.
There's a few people have been asking about that as well, so we'll kind of dig into that a little bit later on as well.
Yeah.
But I know we're
Look,
looking
look,
at
I
our
think,
men's
I
team.
think, I think absolutely, and I think this time of year, especially January, February, there's potentially a really big opportunity, a window. And for anyone who wants to travel to New Zealand, it's probably the best time as well from a tourist perspective. It's great weather. We stage a 1 week tournament with 8 men. I think we shorten the games to make them 30, 40 minute games, and you get, let's say 3 or 4 games over a couple of days,
Yep.
um, that starts becoming quite an appealing thing. And I think we can definitely pull that off. I know there's a team in Christchurch that really wants to come up to Auckland to play. So we'll probably have, I don't know, half a dozen teams in New Zealand who are really good at a good enough level to play a tournament if we can pull something off like that.
Okay.
It's been talked about here, right? It's been talked about for a number of years now, but we haven't been able to put it together. But that's something we definitely, I'm sure I don't speak for the national body anymore, or the local body, but I was the president of the Auckland Football Association, and I'm very close to the guys who are currently leading it. But I'm sure that's something that they'd be very, very interested in.
All right. The time frame I was looking at is probably sometime in March, looking towards the end of
Yeah,
March, because obviously we have to get everyone geared to travel to New Zealand
yeah,
because, like you said, it is remote, it's a little bit far.
yeah.
But giving ourselves 2 or 3 months, I think we could get everything set up
What
for it.
about April?
That would be fine too. Early April.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess the reason I say that is end of March is our flag nationals, right? So we have our
Okay.
national flag tournament. 55 teams around the country turn up to Auckland. It's massive. It's a big deal. So
Okay.
that's usually end of March. But a lot of those players don't necessarily play contact, right? So we can have the contact guys training separately and have a tournament in April, and that would be a really good way to finish the year, I reckon.
Okay. What dates exactly are the national tournament for flag, or more or less, if you don't
So
have the
the
exact dates?
tournament's gotten so big now that they've had to put it over 2 weekends. So right
Okay.
now it is over the weekends of the 21st, 22nd, and the
Hmm.
28th, 29th, right? So the
Okay.
21st, 22nd, that is the juniors. So that's all the youths, so under 20s, under 17s, under 15s, so men's and women's. And
Okay.
28th, 29th, actually the 27th, it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The 27, 28, 29 is the men's and women's and masters grades. So that's over 35
Okay.
as well. So guys like us can play.
Okay. Okay. So then, what would you think of maybe something like Saturday, April 4th, or that weekend? It'd be the following weekend, or maybe even the 10th, 11th, 12th, or the 3rd, 4th, or 5th, or 10th, 11th, 12th of April.
Yeah, I think the 10th, 11th, 12th works a bit better. Um,
Okay.
but look, ultimately, this will come down to a lot of the clubs being up for it. So if that's something that you guys are keen on, what I'd like to see is just a quick email, just a proposal. What I'll do is I'll speak to our guys on our end next week. Now we're back from holiday, to see if we can get something going.
Okay. Then what I'll do is I will get that out to you probably this weekend because I actually have to do some more editing and chopping of
Yeah.
videos. I've got one up on a trip I did to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. We had a tournament there at the end of November, so I'm doing that. And actually, I'll probably be doing the same thing when we go over there. Is basically film it, um,
Hmm.
do a little bit of tourism, obviously
Yeah.
go to a couple of local eateries, show some people some New Zealand
Yeah.
cuisine, and then also interview like people like yourself, other organizers of the league, and then put it all together and basically make it a travel show based on football. So that's what I've been working on.
Yeah.
Then also I have is what I'm doing now is a series of interviews with coaches, import players, administrators from various
Hmm.
countries, just kind of getting the word out there on international football. Because obviously, as we know, there's a lot of football going out there, just people don't know about it.
Yeah. So what would you think then of like even if we have a four-team format, right, and keep the quality really high, we get a
Yep.
team from the South Island and they can manage themselves. We have your
Mm-hmm.
team, and then we can
Yep.
split Auckland up into two good teams and go like
Could
that.
be.
Three teams doesn't really work because you probably have one team always sitting out again. Well, it could work,
Yeah.
um, but maybe a 3 or 4 team tournament is probably the way we
Yeah.
do it then.
Well, the one we did in Puerto Vallarta back in November was 3 teams. So there was a team from
Yeah,
Mexico City, there was my team, and there was a team from Puerto Vallarta itself. So we just kind of did a
yeah,
round robin, and
yeah,
everyone played. Everyone we did a full round, and then we did a final. So that would
yeah. Cool.
be easy to do over a couple of days.
Yeah, nice. Okay, well, I think that would work really well.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and 8 man. Could you send me the rules that you guys used to as well? We
Yep.
we played the traditional high school 8 man format when they came
Yep.
over,
Yep.
and I think what we can probably pitch it at from our end as well is a bit of a trial for the national team, which is selected for a tournament in July. So we could have
Okay.
our big players going up against each other and yourselves as well.
Exactly. Well, we can also do 8 man or 9 man. Either one.
Yep.
Nine, I know, would be a little bit closer to the 11 style. So either way.
Oh no, eight's fine. Eight's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And look, if
Perfect.
our national body doesn't want to do it, we could even run it as a private tournament and do it that
Yeah.
way. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, we can definitely talk to the guys in Christchurch, see what they want to do, and then obviously, if it doesn't go through the national body, I know
Oh,
the Lightning, you can do it
I,
and bring on guys as well.
I can tell you the Christchurch guys will be keen as they've been messaging for a while about something. It's about whether we
Okay,
can get national calendars aligned. So leave that with me. I think this probably works in a little bit better than trying to squeeze it into the Auckland season, um,
exactly.
and you're doing it that way.
And then the last thing is, what can players do if they want to try to come over and play in New Zealand? What would you guys be looking for? What would they have to
Yeah.
provide? What would you guys help them out with?
Yeah, so look, I guess the first thing is understanding that New Zealand, where Australia are probably a little bit further ahead in that they can afford to provide a few more things. In New Zealand, there's a few things that we might be able to provide. We'll be able to provide assistance with everything from helping get your visas, getting employment, getting all of those sort of things done. But where we struggle is because we're a completely volunteer-based program is providing accommodation or providing anything else. We can provide a couple of weeks through players staying with players, especially as someone comes in uh, to get their feet under them and find a place. But there's not much more. However, what I would recommend is New Zealand's a great place to travel. And if you want to play football, it's a country that provides the sport. All the equipment's provided for. You also uh, we've got a really good insurance program. If you do get injured, everything's covered. So it's not like a lot of places around the world where you take a big risk in playing the game. You get covered for even if you're an international tourist for any high level surgery you need to do if that does happen. So there's a lot of pros. It's a great place to travel. Like I said, this time of year is in the middle of summer. People just turn up in droves anyway. But to do it and also get 2.5 months of football in is a great way to do an overseas experience. So that's sort of how I would package it. Is it's a destination. Um, it's a sport that is growing. Yes, we do send a few players overseas, but anyone who does come in from a background playing in high school or even in college, you'd instantly become a really good player over here and someone would build around. And we do have a whole bunch of coaches here as well who have coached either overseas or former players who played at a high level. So it's a reasonable level of football, but it's not the football only that you're coming here for. It's the experience.
Gotcha. And what are the dates of the season?
So it depends. If you're coming here for the contact season, the season starts end of October, early November, and finishes mid-December. The flag
Okay.
season then comes in end of January, finishes through to March.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
So then we'd be looking at hopping in right
we've
at the end of
stuck
the
to
flag season.
yeah, yeah. So you guys coming in the flag season, but that's also the start of the international window, right? So where our contacts for the high level players is picking back
Hmm.
up because they want to wear the black jersey and play for that, right? So that kind of ties in pretty well. So everyone gets to play in the first window, then everyone gets to play in the flag window, and then only the top 10% get to play in the representative window, which is the quality end of the season.
Perfect. All right. And if there's anything else you want to let the people know about the New Zealand, the way of life, the culture, the food, anything, this is a good moment. Just kind of,
Yeah, man.
you
Look,
know,
in Auckland especially, we are 20 minutes from a beach, no matter where you live. So it's a city built on lifestyle,
hmm.
and it's a city that loves sport, right? So you go around Auckland and you would see people who watch every single American sport, and you'd be able to have a conversation about. And if you wear, you're wherever you're from, your Dolphins jersey, your Chiefs jersey, whatever, someone will, and if you came for a conversation, someone will have that with you. It's a sports mad country. Everyone here grows up playing sports at all levels. It's part of our blood, very similar to Australia, but obviously, anyone in New Zealand, New Zealand's a lot better than Australia because you don't have critters trying to get you at every stage. We don't have any snakes.
Exactly.
We don't have none of that. So nothing in New Zealand can hurt you. Um, but it's definitely somewhere you want to take a holiday at some stage. I know, Justin, you played a few years in our early stages before we were sort of established like we were. And we're very, very welcoming of players from overseas to come grow the game here.
It was definitely a great time. Like I said, it was a great food, great atmosphere, just everything about it outside of football was also great. So it made it a really good trip. And I would recommend it to anybody who wants to go to New Zealand to, contact the club and get down there.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And there's lots of clubs that we're very open to it, but our club in particular is always open to players from overseas and making sure
Hmm.
they settle in and have a good time here.
All right. Well, I think that's pretty much everything for right now. So what I'll do is I'll get to work on a letter for you, basically proposing what the tournament would be, whether it's a 3, 4, or more team format, over
Yeah.
that weekend of the 10th, 11th, and 12th of April, and then we
Hmm.
can start to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, awesome. Brilliant.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you, Justin. Great
All right,
catching up
Shiraz. Hey,
again.
yes. Thank
Be
you
in
for
touch soon.
everything, and we'll be in contact shortly.
Yeah, last one. Who you got for the college football championship?
Oh, I mean, right now I'm just looking a little ahead over in the corner of this game. Miami is playing tough, and they have a great defense. They've been shutting everyone down this
Yeah.
entire tournament, so they're looking like a possible favorite. But obviously, Indiana's number 1, so we'll see.
Yeah. I know, I'm looking forward to the game tomorrow. I do
Yeah.
want to see Oregon. I do want to see Oregon get up. I love that program, so we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And plus, my Chicago Bears are in the playoffs for the first time in about 10 years. So
Yes,
big
actually,
game
one
on
of my
Sunday.
close friends. Yeah, one of
Yeah,
my close friends is a big Bears fan, so he's over the moon right now. So
yeah,
it should be a fun weekend of football.
yeah, man, absolutely. Alrighty,
All right, Shiraz. Thanks again, and we'll talk soon.
talk soon, mate. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Cheers.
you.